let's get stuck into the next pack. Apologies for last weekend, obviously, but I opened the McDonald's sets that I got from the Happy Meal. So you got 2 short videos instead of this one long one. The packs obviously weren't as cool, but you do get one sort of holographic effect with them, so you do get one kind of rare, good looking one. Finally. I don't know why I don't just tear them. I mean, it's not like I'm selling these at the end. So, let's see what we get this time. First up is just a basic energy card. I think I spent a lot of time talking about energy and Sandaconda, not as much actually in the video, however, because it doesn't make for a good video just to talk about energy, but I think I'm slowly beginning to get the basics of the card game down, so that's good. So, after the energy card, hopefully an actual Pokemon this time. Quite good, a Claydol. It's got a sort of shine to it as well, holographics. So its attacks are Kaboom Doll. Put damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon until its remaining HP is 10. If you placed any damage counters in this way, this attack also does 120 damage to this Pokemon. So that's all its HP, basically. I'm not sure if there's a card you can use to sort of get rid of that damage to Claydol. But I suppose if you've got a really high HP Pokemon in your opponent's active, what would it be called, active zone, then I suppose that could be really good, even if it is going to destroy Claydol as well. And Mind Bend. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. I suppose you could, if it can survive a turn, do the Mind Bend so it's confused, then Kaboom Doll it so that it's down to 10 HP. And you do lose Claydol, but you might, on the next turn, the confusion might actually, I guess, beat the other Pokemon as well. It might faint as a result. So Claydol could be quite useful. What comes next? Cryogenal. I seem to be being either quite lucky, or I suppose because I spent a not insignificant amount of money on this. Perhaps you pay to win with these kinds of cards, but I do quite like the sort of water design that it comes with. It's obviously an ice Pokemon in the games, but card game doesn't do ice types. It's only got the one attack, first freeze. If you go second and it's your first turn, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So, I mean, other than just doing the 30 damage that first freeze does, kind of feels like you want to play Cryogenal on your first turn against a Pokemon that will go first in order to really maximize what it can do. So what comes next? Glimmet. It's been a good pack so far with the designs. They all look quite cool so far, other than the energy, obviously. So Glimmet, another flip a coin. If heads during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks. Okay, that actually could be quite useful. I mean, it's like a protect, and unlike, protecting the games where the more turns in a row you use it, the less likely it is to succeed. I mean, you've got a 50-50 shot, heads or tails. If it's heads, no damage on the next turn. And then hang down, which does 10 damage. Not the strongest Pokemon I think you'll ever see, but I presume this can evolve into something with a bit more strength and power to it. So can I make it 3 in a row? No, Linoon. It's called the rushing Pokemon, but it's shown in a very ninja-like pose, sort of running through the streets, I presume evading, well, I suppose having probably stolen, shoplifted something. I mean, it is a raccoon after all. So it has 110 HP, that's not bad. And its attacks are Jet Headbutt, quite cool, 40 damage, and Reckless Charge, which is 150 damage, so very powerful, but it also does 30 damage to itself. So it can use it 3 times, and on the 4th time it will faint. So quite versatile and quite good from Linoon, I suppose. You can do quite a lot of good damage there. I mean, I can't think of many Pokemon that could survive 3 Reckless Charges. Can probably bring down quite strong Pokemon that way. Okay, what comes next? Probopass, the one with the interesting mustache. Have you ever seen a rock with a mustache? Pokemon fans have somehow. I can't believe it's got an attack called Triple Nose. Flip 3 coins. This attack does 40 damage for each heads. I suppose that's fair considering Probopass is pretty much just a big head. So that's 120 damage it can do. So that kind of just underlines just how powerful Reckless Charge is, because you'd have to hit all 3 and get another go in order to do more damage. Although it has an attack Iron Buster, which is 160, so actually stronger than a Reckless Charge. But during your next turn this Pokemon can't attack, so a bit like Gig Impact or Hyper Beam, it's got to rest on the next turn. But 160 damage is quite a lot. It can knock out Probopass, which only has 150, and all the other Pokemon in this pack have had nowhere near enough HP to survive that hit. So Probopass, it's got a lot of HP but can do quite a lot of damage. That's quite a good card to have. Let's see what comes next. Lycancroc. Not up with the anime enough to know quite how cool this Pokemon is, but it seems to be quite a popular Pokemon, one a lot of people like. Is that what it evolves from? Rockruff. I don't know how I feel about that name. So it's got 130 HP, so not the strongest, but the second strongest so far. But its attacks not quite as powerful. Finishing Fang has a base of 90. If your opponent's active Pokemon has no damage counters on it, before this attack does damage, this attack does nothing. That... I mean, I suppose you need this Pokemon to finish things off. Although Slashing Claw does 100, so it's actually more powerful than Finishing Fang. But, I mean, and you'd need to actually use Slashing Claw once in order for Finishing Fang to do any damage. I mean, together they do 190, but if you use Slashing Claw twice, that's 200, so 10 more. Is there a rule that you can't use the same attack twice in a row or something? Because I don't really see why you'd bother. Okay, and next we have Lampent. So 80 HP and an attack of Flare, which is 20. Alluring Fireball. Switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. This attack does 30 damage to the new active Pokemon. So 30 damage, but not to the active Pokemon, to a benched Pokemon. And obviously it switches it out, so I suppose if you were trying, if you need to if they've got a really good bench Pokemon that you want to try and get rid of, that would be quite good to swap it in when you're better prepared and not perhaps when your opponent will want it to come in. I can see how that would be useful. At least I think so. And next we have Togepi again. I'm pretty sure this is the same design, but maybe I'm wrong on that one. So Whiny Voice, I've met a lot of people with one of those. Choose a random card from your opponent's hand. Your opponent reveals that card and shuffles it into their deck. Okay, quite useful. Gets rid of something in their hand. Hopefully, obviously, you have to choose a random card. You don't know what it is, so hopefully you pick a good one. It's one of those. Can be useful, can do practically nothing kind of attacks. It's got 50 HP and an attack that does 20 damage. The attack obviously being Rolling Tackle. I mean, it's a spike ball, but yeah, I suppose Rolling Tackle, it makes sense if you're going to call it the spike ball Pokemon. Oh no. I remember all the memes and discussion of this one. It's the Chunk. Now this Pokemon has a name that must have come from internet culture. It absolutely must. There's no way they thought of calling it Lechonk without spending far too much time on social media. And I know that because I myself have spent far too much time on social media. The Hog Pokemon. Probably should have called it the Chunky Pokemon, Chunky, something like that. Would have been funnier. 70 HP. Headbutt Bounce does 10 damage and Mudshot does 20. I mean, with a basic Pokemon, I suppose that's not too bad, but Lechonk, it's more going to be loved for its looks and the chunkiness than, I suppose, its use in battle. And the final card, let's make it a good one, shall we? Greavard. Oh, that's a very sad Pokemon. I mean, it's a puppy with a candle on its head, and when it evolves it gets a headstone, so that's same HP, and its two attacks are exactly the same too. So it has an attack of Gnaw, which does 10, like Lechonk's Headbutt Bounce, and an attack of Spooky Shot, which does 20, like Mudshot from Lechonk. Yeah, I mean, this entry is just sad. It is said that a dog Pokemon that died in the wild without ever interacting with a human was reborn as this Pokemon. I mean, that's sad. I mean, I've seen Drifloon's Pokedex entry, and that's concerning. Which means I now look at everyone who say that Drifloon is their favourite Pokemon in a completely different way. I'm sure you've seen by now mine's Hitmontop. Judge me as you must. But yeah, very sad. It's been a pretty good set so far. Just give them a quick look over again. Most important ones obviously being Cryogonal and Claydol. The Claydol, I guess, is, I presume, the most desirable one because of this sort of holographic finish to it. But it's been a good set today. I mean, Limit as well has this sort of finish that the Cryogonal had, but obviously for fighting type rather than water type. I mean, it's water energy, so I suppose I could use the energy with Cryogonal. So yeah, it's been a pretty good opening today. Just hoping they all stay like that from now on. And I'll see you next Tuesday when I open the next set.